pay down their credit card debt as close as they can to zero. The magic number is zero if they can, but if they can't, as close as they can.
Right.
And we've noticed that a lot of clients, they don't know how. They don't know how. They're maxed out. They're living paycheck to paycheck.
They're not budgeting to be able to, suddenly I got to buy a car. Where do I get the extra $5,000, $10,000 to put down on it or buy it outright?
Start paying off your high interest debt.
Oh yeah, your high interest debt. Yes.
And that's typically your credit cards. That's typically
without
credit cards.
a doubt.
Credit cards typically have right now, right, 20% higher.
25 to 35% is what I've seen.
Define money in the area of taxes, okay?
Yeah.
But even if you're W-2, so there's no excuse for any of us. Even if you're W-2, you could still save money in taxes. More than money, it's about empowerment. Welcome to MSI Wealth Chronicles. Today, we're going to be speaking about budgeting. And budgeting, I think, is really, really important.
It's
in the
the
sake
starting
of,
foundation.
Yeah, finances, everything, credit. So let's dive right in.
Absolutely.
Earlier, you were telling me something I didn't know, right? The meaning of budget.
Oh,
the definition
word
of budget, right?
Sure. Yeah, this was a new one for me. So the word budget comes from a French word, budget, which comes from bouge, which you kind of hear in the media nowadays. That means leather wallet, and it was referring to a leather pouch, and it referred to like leather, your wallet or your purse. And when somebody was budgeting, it was when you opened up your purse to actually go over your money. So
It's cool to know the meaning now.
yeah, it's neat to know the meaning. I never knew that until today. That was very cool to find out.
Yeah. But the reason why we want to talk about budget is, as you guys might already know, I'm Ricardo Mendiola. This is Jesse Hartman. And we're here at MSI Credit Solutions. And here at MSI Credit Solutions, what we do is we help our clients increase their credit scores. But one of the other things that we do is we educate them.
Absolutely,
because
without a
that
doubt.
combo there will help you increase your credit scores. The education that we give them, how to manage their credit, because no one's ever really taught us how to manage our credit.
Right.
And then, of course, what we do for our clients is help them attempt to remove as many of the negative items they have on their credit report. But budgeting is a key thing for your credit. Because one of the things that we always tell our clients is 30% of our credit score comes from debt.
Yep.
So a lot of the clients that come our way, they have a lot of open debt, like credit card debt.
Yep.
And we tell them to, pay down their credit card debt as close as they can to zero. The magic number is zero if they can, but if they can't, as close as they can.
Right.
And we've noticed that a lot of clients, they don't know how. They don't know how. They're maxed out. They're living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
So, being able to budget, being able to find some extra money, right, to be able to expedite the process of being able to pay off debt, I think is key. And it's a very popular subject, budgeting.
Oh, yeah, everywhere. I mean, everybody, and it's because at some point in time, we all end up with a crisis moment, right?
Yep.
And that's really where budget, in my opinion, comes from in my world. Earlier this last year, remember last year, my wife got in a wreck?
Yes.
And then suddenly I have to buy her a car out of nowhere. You know what I mean? I wasn't prepared for that expense. Well, I was, but if I didn't have a budget, if we didn't have money set aside, that's exactly where most people go wrong, is that they're not budgeting to be able to, suddenly I got to buy a car. Where do I get the extra $5,000, $10,000 to put down on it or buy it outright? And that was a personal experience I had within the last 2 years.
Yep. And that's good. That's really good. I have one thing for everybody about budgeting, just one simple thing. That's it.
Uh-oh.
Marry someone that is really good at budgeting. That's it. And we're done? Nah, I'm playing. But no, I'll tell you this, though. That does help me out. My wife, she is really, really, really good at budgeting. And a lot of the tips that I'm going to be given today really just comes from looking from the outside in and watching her do it. But yeah, I mean, that definitely helps out that I married someone that's, complete opposite of me. I'm not saying that I'm bad with my money, but she's
You're
definitely
better at making it then.
yeah. But she's definitely opposite. She's more, conservative. I mean, because I'll tell you this, I have a little story for you. When I finally decided right around, 2005, is really when I got motivated to improve my finances.
Right.
And the reason being was because I wanted to buy real estate. And so I had a lot of goals at that point in time, to be able to buy a house, fix my credit, find money, because you do need money. Some people will say you don't need money. Yeah, there's ways of finding and investing, right? Investing in different things, right? Different vehicles and not needing any money, but having money does make it easier.
Oh,
so anyways,
sure.
I got motivated right around 2005. So I started, trying to figure out how to budget, how to create more money. And really what I dove right into, my thing was find more money, make more money. That's I believe that 100%, in the area of budgeting, try to find more money.
Right.
And that could be several different things. I, back in 2005, was in a performance-based industry. So someone that's in a performance-based industry, I think it's pretty simple, to find more money. Put in, more hours,
Right.
maybe grow as an individual. I guarantee you, if you're in a performance-based industry, you're in real estate, you're a loan officer, I don't know, back then I was in collections, you're in credit repair, whatever it might be, right? If you develop yourself, read,
absolutely.
Audibles. If you grow as a person, everything
Become
typically,
better at your craft.
Everything grows around you. Your finances will grow.
Right.
So being in a performance-based industry, I would say it's not very hard to be able to find money, to be able to make more money. Just become better, put in more hours, and you should be able to make more money.
So, got two quick questions on that. The first one is actually for everybody watching this and listening.
Yep.
When you say performance based, what do you mean by that? So they know.
Yeah, like when someone is not just hourly in salary, maybe someone that is working for hourly and commissions.
Right.
So if you're in a commission-based industry, you perform better, you get paid more
money.
Yep. So that's kind of what I meant there.
Right.
But for the people that are not in a commission-based industry, right? There's several other ways that you could try to find more money, and I have a bunch of things written down. I couldn't, there's no way I can memorize all of them, all the things that I wrote down. But so for those that are not in the performance-based industry, right? And even for the ones that are in a performance-based industry, you work for commissions.
Right.
That's part of your wages. A side hustle. There's so many things that you could do now these days as a side hustle. I mean, do you have any examples of any side hustles? I mean,
Promise not to laugh at me?
no.
No, he doesn't promise. That's nice. So you know how I've done Renaissance fairs as a hobby in the past,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I actually work at a shop out there now, so doing that type of thing, I bet you just doing that alone, and I do it 4 or 5 months out of the year, I pull in an additional $10,000 to $12,000 a year from it.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah, so it's one of those that, we set a budget, and if I wanted something outside of the budget, like you said, go find more money.
Yeah, yep,
Right?
yep.
And that's actually one of the ways I go out there and I do that.
Yep. That's awesome. Another thing that I wrote down here was you have to know your expenses. That's one of the things that I did. Know your expenses. And one thing that I did is I was introduced to this site, mint.com. That changed my life.
Right.
You go into mint.com. Once you log into mint.com, it'll ask you to log into your bank account, log into your credit cards, and basically it'll extract all that information and import it into Mint, and then it breaks down where your money is going. So, for example, on your credit cards, when it sees Chick-fil-A, whatever, when it sees, the mall, it categorizes that. And it gives you like a pie graph of how much you're spending and what percent that is of your income. Because it also has you plug in your income.
Right.
So I went this morning to mint.com to make sure it was still available, and it is. But now they've partnered up with Credit Karma. So when you go log into mint.com and it redirects you to Credit Karma, don't be surprised, right? They partnered up to give more tools to consumers. But yeah, that was a game changer for me, because one of the biggest things for me, the biggest eye opener whenever I went to mint.com was food. I was spending so much money on food,
Right.
and I guarantee you that's a big area for a lot of our listeners. Food.
Sure, without a doubt.
I mean, for example, I was eating out breakfast, lunch, and dinner back in the days before mint.com. Yes.
You were working for the food industry.
Yeah, I wasn't married, right? So I don't know. I mean, not only did I save money whenever I started cracking down in that area,
Right.
but also I started eating healthier once I started not going out to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But yeah, I mean that was a big eye opener is food, and that I mean so alongside of what I just said, eating out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, I'm sure that others, you yourself, could relate.
Sure,
maybe it's
absolutely.
not eating out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Do you have any example of this?
Yeah, I have the problem of buying things. I'm a collector of things, and I will buy a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there. And when we first started putting a budget together, realizing how much money I pour into non-necessities like any of the hobby, computer parts and games and things like that, books, all of that was pretty excessive actually. I mean, I was at one point in time was at $400 or $500 a month just in things that are now sitting in my house.
And when you see it broken down,
it's
I mean, you'll be
heart-wrenching.
yes, it really is. But I have some tips here that helped me out once I made that shift and wasn't eating out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And maybe this will help out our listeners. One of the things that I started doing is making a list.
Right.
I started bringing my lunch. Okay, so let's start off there. I started bringing my lunch to work. Okay, so I would eat breakfast now at home, lunch. I would bring lunch to work, and then I would eat dinner at home. But the thing that helped me out was now I made a list. A lot of us, maybe you don't eat out,
Right.
but let's say you do cook, but you go into the grocery store and you have no list. And whenever you go into the grocery store with no list, you walk out with a ton of things that you didn't even need, that you didn't even think about until you saw it on in one of the aisles. So that really helped me out. Is cooking myself, but then B, when I went shopping for the food, for the ingredients, having a list. And now it's gotten even easier because even at times whenever I'd go shop for the food that I was going to make for that week, still I'd go by now and I see a bag of chips that I hadn't had in a long
Never
time, grabbing
shop
some cereal,
hungry.
right? Yeah, that's
Never shop.
There you go.
And
that's
I know
a good tip.
that's not just a joke, by the way.
Yeah.
Even your health nuts will tell you, when you go shopping, right after you've eaten lunch or right after you eat dinner because of that exact reason. That's actually not just a budgeting, but a health tip.
Yep. And then, so now it's gotten a lot easier because now, ever since COVID, I've seen it a lot. I've seen this a lot. I don't know what you call it exactly. I think it's like a pickup order, right?
Yeah, pickup order.
Kroger,
Yep.
Walmart, everybody's doing it now.
Yep.
You pull into to a parking space,
And they bring it out to you.
You text them that you're there, and they bring it out to you. So now more than ever, it's easier to stay structured with what you're going to get. That way, you don't get out of budget. So that's one of the things that I would say is if you're eating out like I was, stop it. It's not as healthy as cooking your own food. And then also having a list if you do go shopping into the grocery store or try the pickup order.
Right.
So
that's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking to myself while you were talking earlier that a lot of people since COVID, you've seen a lot of the being able to order becoming a lot easier from like DoorDash and things like that, buying food, buying pre-cooked food. And at first I was like, COVID's been bad. And then you mentioned, with the pickup orders and everything, I'm like, no, I mean, it's how everything's turned out. You gotta control those spending when it comes to, it really comes down again to education. If you know that you're buying fast food, well, convert that to start buying a normal list of things and you can still use the internet, order it, go buy, pick it up, go home. You don't have to deal with a whole lot of people and you keep yourself from the temptation of, walking by all the aisles. That's the reason they put that food right next to the counter. I mean, I bet you, I saw somewhere one time that it was a significant portion of the profit companies make is in that 10 feet right before the register.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, back to the whole subject that we're talking about. We're talking about budgeting, right?
Right.
And we mentioned finding more money, and we mentioned that I went to mint.com. If you don't go to mint.com, that's fine, but you could even do an Excel spreadsheet.
Score Safety does it too.
Score Safety does it as well.
Not Score Safety. I mean, Smart Credit.
Okay,
Smart
I don't know
Credit
that.
has
Really?
one in there. Yep, and
So-
it's part of it.
Really? So, but like some people would just go to Credit Karma, right? Go into your credit card statements, go into your bank account if you use your debit card,
Right.
and just start seeing where all your money is going and categorize it. And so, anyways, try to find more money. And one of the ways that you can find more money is by cutting down some of your expenses. And that's how we're talking about food, right? That was one of my biggest expenses, food. And I will say this: before I jumped into cooking my own food, I actually tried something in between. This did save me money, and it's still out there now. Pre-made meals. There's a lot of companies out there that sell pre-made meals. Whenever I went from eating out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then I saw through mint.com that I was spending a lot of money for food, I tried pre-made meals first before I went to cooking. And pre-made meals saved me money and it saved me time. It was a lot cheaper with eating pre-made meals versus eating out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because it was, I mean, for every meal that I bought at these places, it was cheaper than going out and spending, $15 to $20, for lunch and dinner. Breakfast a little bit, less expensive.
Right.
But anyways, and then it also saved me time because now, let me give you the example of at work. At work now, I wasn't having to drive out of the office.
Right.
5-10 minutes. Right.
Or
5-10
pay somebody
minutes
to bring
back.
it to you.
Yep. Spending my whole hour lunch, compared to bringing a pre-made meal to the office, putting it in the microwave for 2 minutes, eating it in 4 or 5 minutes, and then getting back to work. And back to what we mentioned. If you're in the performance-based industry,
right.
I would eat my meal in 5-10 minutes, warm it up, and 2 minutes,
go right
back to work. So that helped me. Going to prepaid meals helped me find more money. But then, of course, like I was saying, then I took it another step, and what I started doing is cooking my meals. That is, to me, is cheaper than eating out, and also cheaper than buying pre-made meals.
Right.
So that's where I'm at right now, still to this day. Cooking my own food, and it saved me a lot of money. So, and then we're saying all this because once you find more money, now, right?
Yeah.
What can you do? Now you could put that money that you're saving into the debt that you have.
Right.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But one of the things that we recommend is start paying off your high interest debt.
Oh yeah, your high interest debt. Yes.
And that's typically your credit cards. That's typically your
without
credit
a
cards.
doubt.
Credit cards typically have right now, right? 20% higher.
25 to 35% is what
Yep.
I've seen, what I found, because I've recently been doing a lot of research on this. I found one of my credit cards at 32%.
Yeah.
I had a phone call with them over that. So no, it can be. I've seen some as high as 35%.
And speaking, let me ask you this real quick. I don't know if your intentions were to cover this, but can you tell everybody what your strategy is? So you told me that you have a little bit of credit card debt, right?
Yep.
And you have something that you're about to execute that's going to help you expedite the process of paying that credit card debt, correct?
Sure, absolutely.
So I think that this pertains to what we're talking about. So
That
do you wanna
actually it
cover
does.
that
It
with
really
everybody?
does. One of the things that we're doing, and we're going to do a whole thing about this, a whole show about it. I'm getting a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, right? We have about $400,000 in equity in our
much?
house. About $400,000 in equity, and we're going to take about 30 of that and pay everything off and convert it over to the HELOC.
And let me ask you this, so everybody knows. How much debt do you have right now? $30,000, you said, right?
$30,000 is on
And
my whole line.
average, that $30,000 worth of debt, what would you say the interest is, the average on the $30,000?
I can actually split it into two categories for you and tell you exactly. For the $18,000, that is credit cards and loans.
Yep.
The average interest rate's about a 24%.
Okay.
Right on the cars and those type of loans.
Yep.
It's about it's about 12 or 13% right now. So, here's the great part: the HELOC is 8.
Yep. So
8%.
So this is lower than all the debt that you have.
Oh, without a doubt,
Yeah,
without
yeah.
a doubt. I'm figuring that monthly, I'm going to. Currently, my total monthly payments towards all of that,
Yep.
we're paying $1,750 a month.
Yep. Yep.
That my minimum payment on the HELOC is going to be $492.
Yep.
Now, and I'm not going to pay the minimum because I want to get it paid down real
Yep.
fast. But because we're moving over that, and this is where you've got to learn to not only budget but do the best with your money. I'm going to pay almost that whole $1,700 towards the HELOC.
Yep.
And I'm going to be out of debt in less than 18 months,
Yeah.
where it would have been almost 4 years to do the same thing the other way.
Yep. And see, this falls right exactly what we were talking about. Try to find more money. Jesse found the home equity line of credit. What's the total that you're going to get? The line of credit. What's it going to be for?
$250,000.
So he found $250,000 through the equity on his home. So maybe some of our listeners here, you have a home right now, and you probably do have equity, especially if you bought before 2022, I would say.
Yeah, before 22, or even before 23.
Yeah, that's when it really surged.
Yeah.
So he found $250,000 through the equity that it has in his home, and now he's using that to pay off his high interest debt that you have. And you said an average of about, what'd you say?
About 24, 25%.
Wow. And now you're going to convert that debt to 8%.
8%.
Interest rate.
Yep. 8%. And it's going to make a big difference. So I think I agree with one thing that you said, and I think this is something I want to highlight for everybody out there, is the first thing you've got to do is be honest with yourself. Sit down, not only find out what your bills are, but if you do everything in cash, track everything you spend for a month, maybe 2. If you work with debit cards and credit cards, which I do recommend to use, sit down and do what you said. I like that mint.com idea.
Yep.
To be able to go in there and just see what you're actually spending, because you can't get somewhere without knowing where you are right now.
Yep.
And that's where you got to be. And then from there, you got to group everything.
Yep.
Because if you don't know what's important, what's not important, do I really need to spend $400 a month on toys?
Yep.
I mean, that's an embarrassment to say as a grown man, but that's what you're looking at.
Yep. And I have some things written down on areas where you could, once you know your expenses, right? Shop your expenses, especially if they're necessities. Like, for example, let's start off with like cable and internet. One of the things that we just did here recently is, I kept hearing everybody doing this, so I was like, man, I need to try it. I don't even know what you call it, but a lot of people don't have cable now.
Right.
Now they stream online.
Live streams.
Yeah. We did that for the first time, and I'll tell you this: I was a little afraid that maybe I was going to miss out on some sports channels, live, sport events and stuff like that. No, I mean, it's exactly what cable is. We got DirecTV. So now there's an app, a DirecTV app, on our TV. You just go there and it's just like regular cable. And it got cut. I think we were paying like $150 per month on our cable. Now we're paying like $50. It's so much cheaper. The streaming is so much cheaper than the old-fashioned cable. So that's one of the areas. Electricity, that's a big area.
You should always shop, and you should do that every 2 years.
Yep. Electricity is the big one, a big one. Once again, back to my wife, she does that a lot. Hey, I switched. She's always switching, finding cheaper providers. So that's a big one. Here's a huge one, a really big one that's going to probably touch for a lot of individuals, including probably you. Insurance.
Yes.
Insurance is taking a beating over the last couple years. Here in Texas, for example, the freeze that we had a couple years back, the insurance companies had all the claims.
And all the hailstorms last year,
Hailstorms that we have. Hailstorms are every year, here in the DFW area, right? Hailstorms here in the, DFW area, North Dallas area are really big. So insurance have had a lot of claims here over the past couple of years. So because of that, insurance premiums are going up on everything, homes, vehicles. I mean, like a lot. And so you have to shop it. Don't just fold over and whatever they say it's your new premium, don't just say okay and then go along. It's very, very, very easy to shop. And as a matter of fact, there's a lot of companies out there, insurance companies, that are brokers.
Right.
That's a recommendation that I have written down. You go to a broker, for example, and I'm not trying to promote them, right? Like Goosehead is one of them.
Right.
I'm not sure if they're here just local in the Texas area or if they're nationwide, but I know they're not the only ones.
Yeah.
So they're a broker. They work with multiple insurance companies. You call them up. Hey, I want to shop my car insurance, and they'll run you through the system, and they'll price you out with all the 10 insurance companies that they work with.
Right.
Because if you go to a non-broker, let's say you call State Farm, right? Hey, I'm shopping my car insurance. They're going to give you, their premium that they have to offer. Then you have to call somebody else. Then you have to call somebody else. But if you go with the broker, you give them your information one time and they shop you. Let's say they work with 10 companies. They shop you with 10 companies and they tell you who was the best out of all the 10 companies that they shopped you with. So insurance, I'm telling you right now, if you haven't shopped your home insurance and your car insurance, I guarantee you, okay? I guarantee you, and you could comment here later on if you were able to save some money or not. But I guarantee you, if you have not shopped your car insurance or your home insurance in the last 2 years, I guarantee you by shopping it, especially by going with a broker of some type, right? I guarantee you're going to find some money there. 100%.
I've also found that brokers are a better choice because oftentimes when you're looking at somebody who is working for an individual company, I want them working more for me than working for the company. You know what I mean? So that's I also use a broker for that type of thing.
And ask your wife. I mean, do you know off the top of your head if your wife or you, maybe you handle this part, right? Insurance, car insurance, and home insurance. Have you guys shopped that?
We
in
did
the last 2 years.
Not this year, but last year, and we're about to do it again.
Yeah.
Because it's about 2 years in, because we've just pulled the hot rod out of storage. And we're going to insure it, so that's an additional car on there. And by the way, talking about shopping your insurance bundle, it actually works. We're looking to get, because we need standard standard car insurance, home insurance, and we need a classic car insurance.
And you have to take the time. Like, let me give you another scenario. Once again, how I was speaking about me and my wife being opposites. So in one of the episodes before today, I had mentioned that we purchased a investment property in Plano. So we rented it out. The tenant moved in this month, April 1st. And anyways, so we got the mortgage insurance, and our insurance provider quoted us $6,000. I was ready. Okay, thank you very much. Yep. Because I'm really fast paced, right? And so you guys can relate, moving. Right? Just keep moving. But luckily, I'm married to someone complete opposite of me. She didn't settle. Okay, she didn't settle. She was like, "Hold 1 second, let's not sign yet." And she went and shopped the broker's quote of $6,000. That's the best that the broker found at $6,000.
Right.
She went off and shopped, right? And that's $6,000 for the year, okay? For a 1978, 2,500 square foot home, just so everybody knows. So $6,000 investment property, right? It'll be different. Your premium will be different on an investment property as compared to
higher or lower.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know, but I know it's different. I would think it'd be higher. I would think, but I don't know. Don't quote me on that. So, anyways, she went off, shopped it, found one for $2,500. Yep. And here's a lesson, right? She found $2,500 with a non-broker. So don't just automatically take the advice I said, find a broker, and then just always go with the broker. And if the broker gives you a premium, just sign with them. No, this is a good example. My wife found a non-broker. I think it was State Farm, but don't quote me on that. I think it was State Farm. Non-broker is just State Farm, right? Hey, I want to shop my home insurance. Okay, what's the information? Blah blah blah. And they give you a bid. Through who? Through State Farm, right? So anyways, yeah, $2,500 compared to $6,000.
She saved you a whole vacation.
Yeah. So don't always go with a broker, like, but I do recommend that you at least shop your vehicle insurance or home insurance with a broker, but don't automatically stick with the broker, because clear example through my story, there's insurance companies that could still beat out a broker that shops you with 5, 10, whatever, however many insurance companies they shop you with. So, but yeah, if you have not shopped your home and auto insurance, there's a treasure there waiting for you. I promise you. It is there. As a matter of fact, you tell me, okay, whenever that time comes, whenever that is, let me know if you were able to find cheaper.
I will do that.
Watch.
I absolutely will.
Yep.
Boy, we open up a lot of our own personal books on this, don't we?
Yeah. Yep. Did you have anything on the insurance before we go on to the next area?
As far as insurance, no. I mean, I agree with you on that. You should really shop it. I mean, don't fall in love with the person. Fall in love with.
Yep.
Well, and by the way, when you're shopping that insurance, make sure you're comparing apples to apples.
Yep.
One of the things you may see, and I've seen this before, is somebody will, especially in car insurance, you'll get 2 quotes.
Yep.
And in home insurance too, because like your assets inside your home, they may quote you a lower amount of asset coverage with one and say, oh, we're going to beat that. We're going to save you, $3,000. But at the end of the day, if anything does happen in your house, you got to replace everything on the inside, and that can be terribly expensive.
Yep.
So
true.
Make sure you're reading everything. I guess that's really when you're looking at insurances, make sure you're reading everything that's there, because if you just buy the cheapest one, well, it may not be the cheapest one under the right circumstances. You might have more money coming out of your pocket than you planned.
Mm-hmm. So true. Good advice, man. Here's another one. This one helped me out a lot as well. So back to what we mentioned. Try to find more money. And how do you find more money? Aside of what we talked about, side hustle, a part-time job, right?
I was once told there's only 3 ways to make more money, right? And that was to get more people to buy from you. It was to spend less money, right?
Yeah. Kind of what we're talking about here.
Right, exactly. It was to get more people, find more people to work with, spend less money, or to, I just forgot the other one. Man, I just made that sound terrible.
No, you're good. It might come back. But here's another one that really helped me out a lot. So how can you find money? One of what we said earlier is figure out where your money's going, and then look at the biggest area where your money's going, and then from there see if you could cut that, right? And we mentioned food. We mentioned your utilities and stuff like that, home insurance, auto insurance. But here's another one. What do you think is the number one expense for all of us? One of the number one expenses for all of us.
Man, I would think it would be either home or food, to be personally, I would think.
I think, you're close. Those are definitely, one of the top 3, I would say. But the top one, it was for me, for sure, and I know it is for a lot of people, taxes.
Taxes. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Taxes is a big one. So kind of the advice that we've been given, that was given to me, find out where your money's going. Where is the most of your money going? The most of my money was going with taxes. So get educated in taxes. Get educated in taxes, because same advice that we're giving you. Try to cut down that area, taxes.
Right.
And so if you're self-employed, you could for sure. There's so many routes that you could get educated on to find money in the area of taxes. Okay.
Yeah.
But even if you're W-2, so there's no excuse for any of us. Even if you're W-2, you could still save money in taxes. But so for example, taxes, right? What's one of the ways that you could reduce taxes? One of the ways that you could reduce.
Itemization.
Yep. Your write-offs. How serious, if you're self-employed, how serious are you about keeping up with the tedious, keeping up with basically your mileage? How much you drove that was work related,
Right.
gas, all the expenses, right? All the expenses that you have categorized. It's
Space
a
in
headache.
your house.
Yep.
You can the current tax law that I saw says that you can write off $5 per square foot, up to 30% of your house space for space that you do business in out of.
Yep.
And by the way, that's for 1099 or W-2 if you work from home.
Really? Are you sure it's W-2?
Yeah, if you itemize it.
What do you mean if you itemize it?
If you go in and itemizing your, you can either do like a 1040 EZ, which is where you just do what the base thing. But if you itemize all your expenses, even as a W-2, you can claim it.
Really? Okay. I don't know. I don't know for a fact. I'm going to believe you.
Your
I trust,
CPA,
yes,
of course.
Yes, because I will tell you this. Being W-2, it was really hard for me to find savings. There are some, and we're about to cover some. But once I opened up an LLC, and now being both W-2 and self-employed, now it just opened up a whole area of tax write-offs, right? Tax incentives, and I wasn't able to write off my home office until I became self-employed. And what my CPA asked me was, how big is your current house? My current house that I've been in for 7 years is 2,400 square feet. He's okay. He's like, how big is your office? And I didn't know at the time. I went to go measure it. How much is your mortgage payment? Okay, so he did the math. Okay, if you're paying $3,000 for 2,400 square feet, you told me that your office is, and I'm making up this number. I have no idea. This was years ago. Whenever I told him this, let's say it was 300 square feet, the office, right?
Right.
He did the math. He's like, okay, this is how much I'm going to be able to write off. Cell phone. I wasn't able to write off my cell phone whenever I was W-2. I always wanted to. I couldn't. Even though it was work related, I couldn't. When I became self-employed, then I was able to do that. Gas, tolls, mileage. I wasn't able to write off any of that stuff until I became self-employed. So
Right.
I'm not saying you're incorrect, but we're not CPAs, we're not attorneys.
No, we're not.
Any information, make sure you verify it, especially that one, because I've been told.
I will go double check
because
on
I've been
it.
told otherwise. I've been told otherwise on being W-2 and being able to write off your office. I'm not saying it's incorrect, but I've been told otherwise. Watch. Before we jump onto W-2, let me tell you some other areas where you could find
Sure.
some money. Being self-employed. So one of the biggest things, I always used to read books, and I always used to see that a lot of billionaires would pay $0 in taxes. Okay. And
Yes.
and here I am, right, paying X amount in taxes, but then you have someone making way more than you. These millionaires making millions per year, making billions per year, and paying $0. And no one could really direct me on how they did that. So I had to finally discover this information, on my own. And one of the best things to do to be able to, shoot for paying $0 in taxes legitimately, right?
Yeah.
Not by doing something unethical, but basically investing. That's where a lot of millionaires and billionaires are able to pay little to no taxes.
Wow,
Is
okay.
investing. Yeah, it's investing. And I'm telling you, it took me forever to figure this out. And finally, no one was able to give me that answer, because I heard what I just told everybody. Find where your money is going, find what your biggest expense is, and try to reduce that expense.
Right.
I did that. I found out that taxes was the biggest expense for me, and no one could really help me on how to reduce that. But finally, that's it. Investing. So watch. Let me give you an example. Real estate, and it's not only real estate. When you invest in real estate, okay, you're able to write off anything that you put into that house, anything, light bulb, anything, washer, dryer, refrigerator, flooring, paint, anything. Any little dollar that you put into the house is a write-off. You could also depreciate the house entirely, okay? Yep. You could write off your taxes. You could write off your insurance premium. You could basically write off everything, whenever you invest into real estate. And what does the write-off do? It reduces your
taxable income.
Yeah, it reduces your income. And when it reduces your income, it reduces what you pay in taxes, right? So not even just real estate. Let's go to W-2. Now, once again, I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that, but like a Roth IRA and an IRA, I get both of those confused. But one of those, or maybe even both, they will help reduce what you pay in taxes because it reduces your taxable income. So even if you're W-2, that is a way that you could reduce your taxable income.
401ks will do it too.
401k, yep. So those are two good examples of someone that's W-2 of how you can reduce one of your biggest expenses, which is taxes. Invest into 401k, invest into the Roth IRA or IRA, one or the other.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up to double check.
It works the same way as a 401k.
Yeah.
You make, I'm just pretending here, you make $5,000, on any given month. And I'm just pretending here, this is easy math. $500 goes into the Roth IRA. So now what gets taxed for that month is not $5,000.
It's $4,500.
Yep. So yeah, 401k, IRAs, Roth or regular IRA is a good way of reducing your taxes. And don't stop there. Don't stop just from the tips that we gave you. Go talk to go talk to a CPA. Go read books. That's what I did. And that's why I'm telling everybody to go search for more information, because I didn't discover all the ways of reducing your taxes. I know there's more out there, and I need to put more time in this area, because still to this day, even though I have been able to reduce my taxes, taxes is still my number one expense, still to this day. But I will say this, from the advice that I gave today, I've been able to reduce my taxes because we have multiple houses. And back to what I was saying, you could depreciate, I could depreciate, you could depreciate all your investment properties.
Right.
Every one of them you could depreciate. All the write-offs, that we just mentioned, the money that you put into it, insurance premium, taxes, mortgage interest, right?
Right.
You could write that off. So there's so many, ways of being able to save money in that area. But yeah, taxes. Taxes was one area that I wanted to make sure that I cover with everybody. It's one of our biggest expenses for all of us. So get educated in taxes to reduce it.
So something that a lot of new home buyers don't, first-time home buyers don't think about, and like the state of Texas.
Yep.
And if you're not in Texas, definitely look for your state. Things like your homestead and the state of Texas will drop your taxable, how much you're being taxed tremendously.
There you go. I didn't even think about covering that today with everybody. That's a great example. That's part of your taxes.
Yeah, so it is definitely one of those. Sometimes it just takes some time to go find out what is going on in your world that can affect you.
Yep, but that's really great advice. So if you're a homeowner, find out if you have a homestead. You should have a homestead. A lot of people forget, as me being in real estate, there's lots of clients that want to refinance their house. And they've been in their house for 5 years. We look up their home. Here we are 5 years later because they want to refinance because, let's say, rates dropped. And we look, and they haven't even filed their homestead. And like you mentioned, we can't speak for every state, but in Texas, if you do file a homestead on your primary property, that's one of the big benefits is you pay less in taxes. And kind of like we were saying, one of the biggest expenses that you have is taxes.
Right.
That's one of the ways to reduce that.
And to do a flashback to one of our other episodes about bankruptcy, it also protects the homesteads protected from bankruptcy.
Okay. Yep.
From them liquidating it. If you have to liquidate your assets, then you get to keep that house.
Yep.
So
That's
just a good piece of. Sometimes you
advice.
find more than what you were planning on when you're looking at under the rocks, right?
Yep.
So what else do we got? You have a whole list. You really went after this time.
Real quick, aside of like finding your biggest expenses that I have written down, right? I just have some other tips on where you can find more money. Buying used stuff, and it's so easy now living in the days of the web, right? The World Wide Web. It's so easy now. Like let me give you an example. Marketplace, you can find a lot of stuff that's used, and you can actually find a lot of stuff that's new that individuals
just
never
bought.
even. Yeah. Like for example, let me give you an example, and this was introduced through my wife as well, because she goes on there a lot, like shoes for the kids. At first, like, man, really, shoes for the kids? You really want to do that? We could go buy them, But she had a good point. How fast do the kids grow out of their shoes?
Well, my 5-year-old is going through a pair of shoes every 4 months
Exactly,
right now. And that's just sizes.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just...
Yep. And with the combination of, as it pertains to kids, right, and their shoes, with the combination of them outgrowing them, that's one thing, but how quick do they tear up their shoes?
The shoes, the clothes,
the day
house.
of, right? The day of. So, like a lot of the clothes that we get for our kids is used from Facebook Market, and man, name brand stuff that's brand new, and for the same reason. There's families out there that their kids wore these shoes one time and outgrew them, and now they're selling them. This pair of shoe right here was $70 brand new. Now they're selling for $20.
My best friend just had a baby. We went through all the baby clothes because he had a baby girl.
Yep.
We went through all our daughter's baby clothes and surprisingly found 3 bags. Now, hear that, bags of clothes with tags still on them.
Yep.
We never even put them on the child.
Yeah. Wow.
I'd never
That's
even
insane.
put them on the child. This was shoes. This was jumpers from ages from newborn to like 2 years.
Wow.
It ended up 3 full bags that we took over to him. It was like, here, your kid's got clothes.
And you bought it brand new, right?
I bought it all brand new.
Yeah. And see, back to what we were talking about, if you buy used, and let's say your kids outgrow whatever you just bought them used, I guess the blow, it won't hurt as much, right? If they didn't get to wear this used pair of pants that you bought for them, these used shoes that you bought for them. And it's funny, my 7-year-old daughter, she saw me wearing some Jordans that I had the other day, like shiny, what do you call it? I forgot what you call it. You see this a lot in cars. Carbon fiber, yeah.
Oh, okay,
they're like, they have a little bit of carbon fiber, on these Jordans. She's like, I want some. And so anyways, what did I do? I went to Marketplace. And,
I thought you said you wouldn't buy them.
Because Jordans, they're expensive. And, even for kids, $70, $80.
Yeah.
I went to Marketplace already. And I haven't bought any yet, but I found so many. I found this individual, Alan, right? He had 3 pairs that he was selling, all 3 Jordans. These 2 barely used, 1 brand new, same story as you. Never used them, never even wore them. And guess what? He's the one that took the big hit. He bought them for whatever, $75, and now he was selling them for like $40 or so, brand new in the box, So anyways, an area that you could budget is see if you could find some of your stuff that you need, that you utilize used. With the web, it's so easy now to find stuff, on the web. And now get this. Let me tell you another thing that I started using, and this was a game changer. All this stuff I've utilized myself, but another area is, have you tried Google Lens?
No, what is that?
Yeah.
Now you got me. I don't know this one.
Yeah. Man, I use this especially a lot as I was building my house. Go to Google, right? Just go to the web browser. There's a little camera icon on there.
Mm-hmm.
Click on it and take a picture of anything that you want. Take a picture of that microphone, right? You take a picture of it through that Google Lens. It'll find it everywhere where it's at in the World Wide Web. Just scroll. Oh, here it is for the cheapest, and buy it. Real simple. It's like it's like an online store, and that's what we did. That's what we did. We still do it to this day, but that's what we did a lot while we were building our home. We went to meet with the designer, and the designer recommended this lighting store. We went to this lighting store. We loved this lighting, and that lighting company was selling this lighting for $5,000. Take a picture of it. Take a picture of it in seconds. You could look to see through Google Lens in seconds to see if you could find it for less than, what did I tell you? The example I gave? $5,000. Is it anywhere less than $5,000? Yep. And watch, I'll do it right now. I'll do it. Well, actually, I'm on airplane mode, so I don't disturb the podcast. But anyways, just go to Google. There's a little camera there. Click on it and scan anything and find it. So before you buy anything,
Right.
I mean, it's not like you're living back in the days, like even where I was at. You know, I'm 46, well, 45, about to be 46. Where
I know I look older, but we're the same age.
Yeah. But there's no excuse. You know, don't think that it's cheaper on Amazon. Don't think that it's cheaper wherever you shop, eBay, whatever.
Amazon's not always the cheapest price.
I was about to say that.
Amazon's not always.
A lot of people think that Amazon is the cheapest. No. A lot of people go to Amazon just because it's so convenient. The web is convenient. Take a couple extra seconds, and if you have the name of whatever you're looking for, just put it on Google, right?
Sure.
If you don't have the name, Google Lens, a picture will do, right? You don't have to have the name. With Google Lens, you don't have to have the name. Google the image and finds that related image everywhere on the web. Yeah, no excuse at all whatsoever, no matter what you're buying, especially at stores. You know, it's one thing in the web, especially at stores, they have to pay for that brick and mortar, right?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So everything's marked up.
Well, you were talking about cost of food earlier, right?
Yeah.
In a restaurant, they will tell you that the cost of the food for the restaurant needs to be 30%.
Yeah.
That means when you buy a hamburger from Burger King, 60%, 70% of what you're paying for is overhead cost, all of that stuff.
Yes.
You know, take anything you buy from a fast food restaurant, divide it by a third, and that's what it costs them, and that's what it should cost you.
Wow. Yep. And speaking of budgeting and side hustles, a lot of people, right? This is a side hustle. That's what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are buying stuff, finding it wherever they can, cheaper online, right? Finding it because they know that people won't shop it, even though it takes seconds. So they find it. They take they do the homework and find whatever it might be, right? Online for the cheapest. And then what do? Then they just repost it on eBay and sell it, and then sell it for, I don't know, maybe not the cheapest, right? Because then they won't make any money. Middle, you know, not the highest, maybe somewhere in the middle or a little bit higher than the middle. And that's a side hustle. There's so many people making money, you know, doing that.
There's a website for that.
Yeah.
There's a website that will that you go to.
Oh, yeah.
And it will tell you the things that are going to be trendy, that are currently trending.
Do you know the name of the website, buddy, Jess?
You know, I saw it the other day and don't remember the name of it right now. Maybe I'll find it and give it over so we can put it in the comments below. But yeah, it's by the way, what you're talking about is the reason I don't own a PS5 yet.
Really?
Yeah, I can't find one at a store.
Really?
They're all for sale on eBay.
Really? Wow. Wow. And speaking of, man, I just blinked out on what I was going to say. I was going to piggyback on what you just mentioned. What were you just talking about before?
About the resellers.
PS3? Oh, yes. Side hustles. You know, we mentioned that's a big side hustle. Online, right, on TikTok, Instagram. I don't know if you've seen the videos of people actually doing this. They're going to TJ Maxx, right? They're going to Ross, buying, you know, at a discounted price, and then marketing it, then putting it right back on like these sites that you talked about, right?
Yeah.
Or just putting it on wherever, right? Facebook Marketplace, and selling it for higher than what they bought it for, but still cheaper than if you would have bought it at the mall. You know, a lot of people are doing that. Going to Ross, whatever, you know, all these different stores where you could get a discount. TJ Maxx,
right?
Those are the two that come to mind right now. But a lot of people are doing that, just doing that. Yeah. So let me see real quick. So another area that I have is, you know, expenses, right? Finding out what your expenses are, figuring out what your biggest expenses are. Don't overlook expenses being your current debt that you have, like your vehicle, your credit cards. Don't overlook that, because I know we've mentioned this in the past podcasts, but credit card interest rates, what are they right now?
Like I said, 25 to 36%.
Yeah. If you have any debt over 10%, you know, I would say right now, I would say do everything possible. That extra money that you're finding, right? That extra money that you're finding through the examples that we gave you, that's what you do with that money now. Start paying off the high interest debt that you have. So typically the highest interest debt that you have is what? Credit cards, right?
Yeah,
Start paying that off.
By far. And, you know, the only thing that's more expensive than that is payday loans.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
I've heard about the the payday loans, the interest rates that they give.
You can pay quite a bit of money on those.
Do you have an example of what they
Off the top of my head, no, but I should have thought I should have done that. But I've seen them. I've seen them in that whole. You end up paying as much as 25, 30, 40% on some of that stuff, depending on how long you have it.
Yep, man. Yep. I've heard about that. So back to what we were talking about, right? Once you've found money, however you found money, you produce more at your place of employer. You save money in taxes, save money in food. You got a side hustle. Just like we said right now. Now what do you do with it? Now start paying off your high interest debt. Whatever your highest interest debt is, start paying that off. And Dave Ramsey has a good example, right? What was he called it? The snowball?
The snowball effect. They also called $0 budgeting. Mm-hmm. Basically, the snowball effect is that you take all your debt and you rank it by
the interest rate, right?
The interest. It's either the interest rate or the total amount you have there. Because if you got some that are real small, pay those off first. And what you do is you pay the first one off, and once that you pay on it, you pay everything in a minimum, right? The minimum amount you have to pay, and then you put all the extra money on one. And when that's paid off, you don't get to spend that money. It just moves to the next number in line, and you just go
and it just
one
snowballs.
at a time, snowballs up because. Let's say you're paying, $50 on 5 items and you put 100 towards one. Well, that 100, when it pays off, you're now paying 150 on the next one and 200 on the next one and 250 down every month on the next one. As you pay them off, it just builds up and it really does knock it out.
I took that Dave Ramsey course at my church, and it was a lot of the stuff that he mentioned. I definitely 100% executed, and that was one of them, the snowball. And he was correct, and exactly what you said is exactly what he says. Pick out your highest interest debt or your lowest balance,
right?
Because he said you have to have those. What do you call it? Those wins. You need those wins.
Yes, you do.
Especially whenever you're paying off debt. So if let's say you have a credit card right now that's 20%, and you have a $500 balance, then you have another credit card that has a $10,000 balance. But has 25% interest on it, right?
Right.
Go ahead and knock off that $500 one first. It just feels good. It feels like you accomplished something when you finally do get it to zero.
Right.
So that's the main reason why he says, pay off your lowest debt first. But then like you said, once you pay off that $500 one, whatever you were paying there, add it to that $10,000 one. Yep. And it just starts. It'll get easier. It's difficult at the beginning, but it will just start taking a snowball effect. It really will.
And that's how you start building that. Right now we're talking about budgeting, but there's two sides to budgeting. And what we're talking about now is really both sides of it, which is your short-term budget, which is what are we going to pay this month, next month, and the month after, right? Whereas long-term is going to be, how do we buy a house? How do we build the savings? How do we get a retirement? How do we buy the next house? How do we get into investments? That's all part of your long-term process. And you have to have the little wins in the short term to keep you on the path of the long term, because if you don't, it suddenly becomes a job.
Yes. No, you're right. 100%. Yep. And I have one last thing, and then I'll open it up for you, see if you have anything else that you want to cover. But also, we were speaking right now of finding your highest interest debt. And if you see that it's going to take you a long time to pay off that debt, and that debt is installment debt. So in other words, not credit cards, refinancing that debt.
Sure,
that will
which
save
is what
you,
I'm doing.
That will save you some money. So in other words, a family has 2 vehicles, a personal loan, and 2 credit cards, and they want to start budgeting. They heard our episode today, and so the highest interest rate debt on that is probably going to be their credit cards.
Sure.
So they start focusing on paying off their credit card debt. But while you're paying off your credit card debt, look to see what your interest rate is on your installment debt, your home and your 2 cars, and then look to see what the market is offering today. Okay, I don't know what the market is offering on used vehicles, but let's say right now you have a 9% on your vehicles, and the market is offering 7%. There you go, refinance them, and you're going to save some money. Mortgage, I could speak about mortgages because I'm a realtor. So let's say that right now you have an interest rate, which a lot of people don't. That's 7.5 or higher.
Right.
Right now the market offers 7s, low 7s, 6s. So refinance your home. So yeah, if you have debt, installment debt, and look to see what your interest rate is. Look to see, you could just Google it. Look to see what the market offers right now, currently. If it's lower, refinance. And by refinancing it, it will save you money.
To figure that out, all you really do have to do is go to Google, type in mortgage rates today.
Yep.
And it will tell you what the rate is for a 30-year right this
Yeah.
minute.
Auto rates today.
Yeah.
Yep. But do you have anything that you want to cover?
No, a lot of
budgeting?
people will go, what kind of budget I will work with. And I know of 3 kinds of budgets. And we've kind of really talked extensively about what to do, for one of those, actually, which is really getting it zeroed out. You know what I mean? But like you said, if you're going to budget, find a way that works for you. Some people, the $0 budgeting thing says you find out everything that you that you need to pay off, and at the end of the day, you've got to make that budget fit to your income and come to a 0 point. And a lot of people will talk about finding out what your needs are.
Yep.
Divide your bills up. Find out what your needs are. Find out what your wants are, and find out what your debts are. These are 3 different things.
Yes.
And then figure out how to get that number down to 0.
Good stuff.
And I really like what you talked about, being honest with yourself, because that's where budgeting is going to start, is being honest with yourself. Go in there, see it, everything, put it on the table. Don't be embarrassed. I think embarrassment is probably the number 1 reason people fail to budget, because you start looking at your budget and you get mad, and then you end up walking away from it. And the other side that people fail at is because they don't put a little bit in there for themselves to do something fun. So while you're budgeting, make sure that you're budgeting your wants, your desires, your needs, your debts, but put a miscellaneous in there when you've got a moment where all you care about is going to a movie and you don't want to pay attention to the world.
And I will say this, budgeting is going to open up so many windows of opportunities for you. Because kind of like I was telling you, in 2004-ish, 5-ish, I wanted to start investing. I wanted to get here, but I realized I was way over here.
Right.
I was way over here. I needed to work on this. I needed to work on budgeting. I needed to work on paying off debt before I got over here. It took me a while to get over here, to be able to start investing.
Right.
Because to invest, you need what? You're investing what? What do you typically invest in?
need
You're investing
money.
money. Yeah.
Money and credit.
Yeah. So I wanted to get here. The burn, the motivation to get there was strong. So I was willing to do anything that I needed to be able to get over here. And because there's so many, we could do an episode on that, but there's just so many benefits to investing. And so, anyways, but it all started over here. It all started with budgeting, and to create more money so I could invest.
So if you want a budget, one of the things I would recommend, by the way, is understanding what it's going to do for you, especially when it comes to the world of credit. We've kind of gone around, we talked a lot about it today, but just to kind of sum up, when you're budgeting and when you cut out all that excess spending, you're going to find the money you have to start paying down your bills. But you're probably going, how's that helping me with my credit? Well, 2 things. Like you said, the first one, as you pay your debts down on your credit cards, as you pay your car notes down, as you pay off these items, your credit is going to naturally increase. Matter of fact, you want to do a fast boost to your credit, pay off all your credit cards.
Yes.
That is a fast boost, and that's the first thing budgeting does. But the other one is budgeting is a preventive thing. From the way, both of us had a similar thing. Before we knew how to control what we were doing, we just bought things when we wanted to. I want to go to lunch. I'm going to drive down. I'm going to spend gas money. I'm going to spend time, and I'm going to spend money to pick up something, and I'm paying 3 times more than what it would cost me to make.
Yeah.
Well, that money's you've got to pay that back eventually, and people People put that type of thing on credit cards. So when you have a budget, you know what you can spend. You keep from spending the little things that add up so much.
Yeah.
And if you've got problems knowing what to budget, start with a simple budget. One I've heard a lot of people talk about, that 50-30-20. Have you heard this?
No.
50% of your monthly pay goes to necessities, right? 30% goes to your wants. 20% goes to your savings, right? And even at that, you may not be hitting a perfect job, but you start the process. Don't be afraid to start the process. That's the thing that scares a lot of people. I've even seen people take all their bills and write on envelopes how much they owe for each bill monthly, and they just stuff money in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, that's got to be better than guessing at what you owe someone.
I think Dave has something like that, right? I remember the envelope strategy that he had.
I've heard it from a few.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Even if it comes down to that, the real thing is that you and your significant other, if you have one, really need to sit down. Like, you know, in both our cases, to be honest with you, my wife's better with the money, with the books than I am.
Yeah.
But if you're bad with books, go find a program. If you're bad with programs, find somebody to help you out. But sit down and I guess the lesson here is sit down, know what you're spending, divide it out into what you have to get done, what you have to pay every month, what you want to pay every month, and what some kind of savings, and then make a plan. That's the biggest problem. Most people know what a budget is, but only I saw a statistic, 32% of the country, no matter who you are, rich, poor, what your political, your ideology, doesn't matter what it is. Only about 30 to 32% of people actually have a short-term budget.
Yes.
And even a smaller percent have a long-term budget. And the big difference that I've seen between the people who are considered upper class and lower class as far as money comes down to that long-term budget. Yeah. So start with a short-term budget, build it up,
goals.
Get good with it. Those goals we were talking about, get those things paid off, get the little goals going. And when you realize you can do it because you can, start looking to the future and figuring out, do I want to buy a house? When I buy a house, do I want to invest?
Yeah.
When I invest, what do I want to do next? Do I want to open my own business? And all of that starts with just being honest with yourself and sitting down and know what you're spending.
Yep. Good stuff. I like it.
That's the piece that I heard today. That's what I heard from you. You reminded me about a lot of things. Like you know, we were talking about checking out what you're spending on things.
Yeah.
About every 2 years, I legitimately call up, find out what my energy rate is, call out, find out what my water is, and all of that stuff, and then start making phone calls around. Every time I do that, I drop our cost.
That's awesome. Good job. Well, that's all, folks.
All right.
What's that cartoon, right?
Oh, yeah. BBDB, that's all, folks. Right. The little ta-da. Thank you for watching MSI Wealth Chronicles, building legacies one episode at a time. My name's Jesse Hartman. This is Ricardo Mendiola. And if you have any questions, please put them below so that we can answer you. And any of the links that we had in the conversation, we'll make sure we get in the comments below. Thank you.
And if you save any money on your insurance, let me know. I'd like to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
I guarantee you'll find some money in your insurance.
What you did.
Insurance rates are going up. You will find savings in your home insurance or auto insurance. Just shop it.
Good advice.
Thank you, guys.